Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. The weekend comes, my cycle hums, ready to race to you.
I think we know what that song is. So Stu has been, how long have you been married now?
42 years in July.
Unbelievable. So he's got a wonderful wife, Hill Krieger, who's one of my wife's best friends. But we're also all friends. But those two have a whole other unique bond together. And really just, it's so fun watching the two of them. And then they met at the Groundlings. Like my career got started. They were in class together. Stu's wife Hill did very well and got up to almost getting in the Groundlings. That's not a good story. I did vote for her. Make that clear. And then a third guy, Randy Bennett and Craig Strong. With Craig Strong is another guy. They're now married, but Craig Strong was in that class, and Hill and my wife kept trying to set him up with women. And it turns out he ended up leaving with the instructor, the male instructor, Randy. So, but Hill, I just love this because Hill was one. If you look at the show Happy Days, and she went by Hillary Horan then, her maiden name. But there was all this group that hung out at the coffee shop, whatever it was called. Arnold's. There were all these kids and all the girls, when the Fonz would come in, the girls would go crazy. And Hillary was one of those girls, right?
Yep.
And so, but the thing that I love about it is that, first of all, she's got great stories, but that Happy Days family, starting with Gary Marshall, they are like a family. Like if she runs into Anson, Ron Howard somewhere, they pick it up like an old high school friend. Am I right?
100%.
Yeah, it's really, really fun to watch. And I love looking at it. But there have been times when I've met, Henry Winkler, and I'll say, hey, he's a friend of mine, Hillary, and he'll just he not just knows her, he knows about your kids and he knows everything. It's really interesting. And the other interest, I'm talking way too much now, but right next door was Laverne and Shirley. And it was a completely different atmosphere.
Yep.
It's so funny. And we became friends with Cindy Williams. And I got to know Penny a little bit. Like, there's no reason why those two shouldn't have been friends. And I guess they were at the end. But, there was just nothing but fighting and bickering on that show. Meanwhile, next door on Happy Days, it was a love fest.
100%.
Yeah. So that's where we met. And then you said I forgot about Satan's Cheerleaders. But Hill became, right up into his death, was really tight with Gary Marshall. Like,
she was in the hospital room the day he died. And that was an invitation only situation where the family was calling people that they knew he would want to say goodbye to. And it happened that she and Laurie Metcalf were in the room together, and he died later that day.
It's just crazy. And I do want to talk about that guy for a second, because I don't think, I think I could say this safely. I don't know that there was ever a better guy to come through Hollywood, like to be that successful and that generous about everything. It was really amazing to watch.
Yeah. And it was genuine. I mean, he was so Gary until the day he died. And the fact that he came down to Riverside and did a class for me. And
right.
I think this, that he couldn't do left turns. Yeah. So wherever he went, you had to build in the extra hours. So when I invited him, I said, Gare, Hill will come. She'll pick you up. She'll drive you to Riverside. We'll have dinner together. She'll bring you home so you don't have to worry about the left turns. Right. And that's exactly what ended up happening. She drove him down.
But think about that, everybody. This is one of the most successful TV writer directors in the history of Hollywood. And he couldn't make a left turn in a car. Like, he would have to keep making rights until he got there. It's so funny.
Yep.
But that guy, he really, and part of the reason why I teach, this is going to sound very priestly of me, but I think it's the same with you, is that it's important to share what you've learned with younger people so the industry can carry on. Yeah. And he was the first person I thought to myself, I heard him talking about that. He was not a professor, but he made a point of doing love, like coming to your class. That was important for him
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah. And the thing about, how he gave to the next generation, both Ron and Henry have done my class as well. And part of that was, again, this is what Gary taught us. I mean, they both referenced it when they came to class about, how you give back, how you mentor, how you make sure the next generation is being cared for. And both Ron and Henry gave Gary credit for teaching them that.
Yeah, it's really, and I always tell people to, if you want to read a show business book, is to read Gary Marshall's book, because it's just, and it's not all roses with him. I mean, there were ups and downs, and then a big down at the end where the money's gone, but he just kept coming back. And part of that, I think his success after he had a bad business manager was people just loved him. I mean, people wanted to make sure that guy got resurrected because he was so talented and had been so generous.
Yeah. And we were at his memorial service, and there was never, you couldn't possibly find a better testimonial to the life lived in terms of, from the USC marching band to Bette Midler singing The Wind Beneath My Wings, to Julia Roberts and Richard Gere and Julie Andrews all speaking at the service. It was just, everybody was there. And again, that was an invitation only event that 2,000 people were at.
There you go. I was 2001. I was not. So, and while we're on the topic of family, we both have 2 children, and one made the smart choice of not going into show business, and the other one did. But tell us about your son, Gus, because he's in the throes of show business, and I think he's chosen an interesting and different path. So talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, the thing that I have said many times, and this is no false modesty involved, is I honestly think Gus is a more talented writer than I am. He's also a director, which I never was and never aspired to be. He has done some acting, but he has been kind of the way his career has panned out. He's directed films. He's got films in development. He's got novels. He's incredibly prolific and talented, but he's also been bumped back and forth a couple of times by, some momentum, and COVID hits, and then momentum again, and the writer's strike hits. And it's trying to learn how to navigate those incredible roller coaster things that are such an inevitable part of the business, while he has a 2.5-year-old daughter and a wonderful wife who's also a director, and, just trying to navigate and manage all this. Part of what's difficult as a parent is I really, truly do think everything about the business of the business is much more difficult than when you and I were starting out, Tim.
It's wildly different. And my daughter works in reality TV, and she she tells me these crazy shows that they're pitching, they make no sense to me, but that's the world. And the trials and tribulations that she has to go through, it's like, I don't know what to say, because the business is just so different.
Yeah.
Now, and how do you explain that to your child when you don't know it? You could explain it when it was the days of like, you got to get an agent and get your script out there as a sample. Like, who reads samples now? Nobody even does that.
Yeah. And getting in the room is not what it used to be because of all the Zoom meetings.
Yes.
And I always said about my own career that I felt that, again, along the way, I met many, many people that were better writers than I was, but they couldn't do the room. They couldn't schmooze. They couldn't, be personable. And I say to my students now, what you have to realize when you're in that meeting, they're not buying the idea as much as they're buying their confidence in you to execute the idea.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you can't be comfortable in the room to make them comfortable that you're the person, you don't have a career, no matter how talented you are.
Yeah, the class I just finished, some of the students didn't finish their scripts on time. I try to get the 10th week to keep open, that everybody's got it done. They can go off and work on the scripts, but the 10th week is story ideas for the script, for the pilot. And then I try to bring in a sitcom writer and let them pitch the idea to the sitcom, because, and I'm always happy to do that for you if that comes up, but because so much of it is verbalizing, the ability to verbally sell your project.
Yep.
More, what you just said, it's more important. They're buying you. They're not buying paper. They're buying you.
Yep. 100%.
So,
which I am going to now counterplug how much Hillary and I adored Sprung. We had so much fun watching it. And
thank you.
I'm happy to hear we are potentially waiting to find out about second season, or
I would have to say so. The writers, they were negotiating a deal. I shouldn't say this, but yeah, I mean, the writer's strike has put a hold on everything.
yeah,
It would have, they're finding success now. That channel, Jury Duty, is like I'm putting it in quotes, a hit, whatever that means now.
yeah.
Happy Days used to be watched by 200 million people. Now
Yeah.
at 2,000, you're a hit. So,
Yeah.
so I think they're finding comedies are doing well for them. And we have a season 2 mapped out that I'm definitely not going to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's a great idea, and I think they'll go for it. So we'll see. But I
Good.
think so. But Stu, thank you again for doing this. Really, really fun. We're supposed to meet halfway at Brent's soon. We'll do that.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Deli, please. So anyway, I've been talking to Stu Krieger. He's a writer, he's a producer, he's an educator at UC Riverside. Are you retired from that now, or are you still there?
No, sir. When I get off this call, I will be reading the papers for week 10 for my class on Wednesday.
There you go.
Yep.
And he's got 2 books out, The Last Cigarette and Raft. Raft is the new one. You can buy them both on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. And you can check him out on Stu Krieger on Instagram and TikTok. I did
There you
it
go.
right there.
Beautiful.
Stu, thank you again so much.
Thank you,
And
Tim. It's been a lot of fun.
always.
Hope we'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon. I'll see you next time on It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack. Hey, there's Jeremiah. I forgot to mention Jeremiah. I'm so
You
sorry.
mentioned me.
Jeremiah produces all of this stuff.
Nice.
I just want
Uh,
to say hi to Stu and thank you so much.
Oh, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Jeremiah. And
so I'll talk to you soon.
yes, please.
I'll tell. We got a doctor's appointment, but after that, I think we can do it. So
Good. Yeah, and I'm June 15th. I am done, and then I'm
Oh,
actually
okay, that's even
sabbatical.
better.
Yeah, and I'm on sabbatical in fall, hoping to do a book tour. So I'm around for the next 6
Oh,
months.
that's exciting. That's fun.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll keep you posted.
I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Tim.
See ya.
Bye.